This is Gol again. I hope you were able to have a good, relaxing week and you all actually studied a little bit on this one. Today's lecture is about the PMBOK, and we have multiple things that we covered in the past uh, 5, 6 lectures. I'm gonna review some of those activities that are more important for our project or for our overall for a project as well as for the exam as well. So these are the things that are more important. Second thing is that we are going to be doing is we will be reviewing the PMBOK chapter 4. That is very, very important. We're going to go into that one from the directly from the PMBOK. Earlier we covered two books. One is the process guide. The second one we covered was the agile practice guide. Now, the third book that we have is the PMBOK. The reason I put it in at the end is that so that now when you are going through this one, we should be able to go through this one very quickly. It should be very quick. I'm gonna take a just a 30-second pause and then we will get started. I'm gonna go ahead and bring my slide deck here. I will go ahead and share my screen. Let me know when you can see the screen so we can get started.
I can see.
Great, thank you. All right, as I mentioned that today it's a class number 7 that we have, 7th class. We have already covered 6 of them. The agenda for today's class is process groups, project deliverables that we have already reviewed, but I want to emphasize them more. That's why I want you to just have a look at them right today as well. And then we will, if you have any questions, we can do that. Otherwise, we can just skip through to the next session. Next one is earned value memorization. This is one of the concepts we discussed last week as well, which I said was earned value management. This is earned value memorization is part of that one. That is very effective tool that you can use. There are a number of ways you can do a project management. Earned value management is one of the very effective tool. It's a little bit difficult, but it's most accurate one so far in my 20 years of experience. So I'm not saying that this is the only way you can do effective project management, but this is one of the very effective tool that you can use for that. Then we will focus on models, methods, and artifacts. This is basically all three of them have been discussed in chapter 4 of PMBOK that we will cover as well. Any question on agenda before we move on?
No.
Okay. So these are the major outputs by process groups. If you remember, we discussed these process groups and we said each one of those process groups are, for example, project initiation, what are the outputs over there? We have a assumption log, stakeholder register, project charter. Planning has the biggest list of all the outputs that we have. I call them just not just the outputs, but also I call them artifacts. We will cover that what is called artifacts and what we need to cover that one. So that's already there. And it has a change management plan, configuration management plan, scope management, requirements, schedule, cost, quality, resource, communication, risk management, procurement, stakeholder management, scope baseline. Scope baseline is very, very important because you need to finalize your scope and then you have to baseline that one. Schedule baseline, That's the you normally do at the end of all the plannings that you do. Then the cost baseline is that based on this scope, this schedule, this is going to be the cost. So you have all these three baselines. If one baseline changes, not necessarily, but most likely the other two also change. But in some cases, you may have a schedule change, but there is no scope or no cost change. It's schedule change only because the unavailability of certain resources or certain things. So that's not going to be an extra cost or extra scope, which is good. But sometimes you do have them. Performance measurements, baseline, project lifecycle, overall lifecycle description that you have to prepare, and then you need to finalize the project development approach that you have. In executing, we have work performance data. So pretty much in executing what you're doing, if you have spent enough time in your planning phase, you're using everything that you discussed, you prepared, and you planned in your planning phase, you execute that one. And during the execution of this one, it is quite possible you may have to change it a little bit, you may have to tailor it a little bit, you may have to make some tweaks as well. But that's only part of that one that you will do. And if you do, it is completely okay to make those changes.
Brother, question. So you make the changes on the planning document itself. For example, during execution, I find something about resources. Do I actually make the change in the resource management plan?
You do. You do make the change in the resource management plan. However, every document you prepare, there is always a revision history header. I always recommend that put on top of it. There's something called revision history. You add in that one what was the original plan, what got changed, and why it is changed. So the type of the change that you're making, when the change is being made, what is the change, and rationale behind that change. These are the four things that are more important. And then if that there is one person responsible for that, more than one person responsible for that as well, you will assign them during that.
Yeah,
And
I
also
guess my question was, so if a change happen in the type of resources or the number of resources, do I log this as a change request as execution, or do I change it in the resource plan that I prepared during planning?
since you are in the executing phase
Uh-huh.
right now of the project,
Yes,
you
I am.
will be introducing it as a change request. It will
Okay.
go through the whole cycle of the change request, which is pretty much the same that you do. And we will cover that one as well. The one of the model of the change request, how we are doing a transformation and transitioning for the change. We will cover that one as well today. But yes, you will create that change request. You have to go through that one, and that change request have impact on future documents you are producing, as well as the documents and the artifacts you have already produced in the past, which is basically it may have a change in your assumptions, it might have change in the stakeholder register, it may have change in any of the planning phase documents as well you prepared. So you will go into that one, but make sure it is imperative that you do document that this is a change. Never ever just override the previous one with the new one, because if you do that, you will lose what was the our baseline where we started. So you need to have a baseline always there, and then you have to add that change and make sure that the next time if I open the document and I want to see what was there, I should be able to see that this was the original thing and this is the change that we had introduced. So now this is the latest one, and we go from there. Okay. Excuse me. The next one is in executing, as I mentioned, that we will have all our documents that we produce, whatever the artifacts are, the outputs of the planning phase that we have already created, that is going to be here. Some of those are very simple, and people may think that these are just why they are coming in executing phase, why not in the initiation phase. Those are selected seller or agreements. These are the certain cases when you have the whole purpose of your project is just a selection of your seller or vendor management that you have. So in that case, what you do is that your output is the final executed RFP final executed the selection of that one, you have completed the procurement process, and at the end of that procurement process, you have MSA, Master Service Agreement, or you have and you have selected a seller as well for that. And then throughout this phase, you will continue to add lesson learned and register. You can continue to add more lesson learned to that one. Throughout this phase, you will have a risk and issue register as well. I always keep both of them together as risk and issue log, so that you can see where we have risks and issues over there. And throughout this document, any kind of a change management change requests are produced. You also need to keep track of them as well. Monitoring and controlling is one of the phase where we are doing major two things. One is that making sure that we are not deviating from our original path. So we planned a path, we are executing on that path. During the execution, it is quite possible that we may start going in tangent. So monitoring and controlling phase is important. It brings us back into on the track and say, okay, let's go back and tell us what is happening here. Secondly, if we don't monitor and control, we might lose sight of the end goal. So we need to make sure that we are still tracking based on our end goal that we have, and we are using different type of tools, work performance information, and your different reports, status reports, and your accepted deliverables. Those are the ones that are there in monitoring and controlling. And then of course the final end product, which is basically acceptable deliverables as well, they are also being produced. And the closing phase is the one where
Sorry, do we use traceability metrics for this monitoring and
we do
reporting?
have traceability matrix is one of the tools that you will be using as monitoring and controlling for controlling the scope of that.
Okay, thank you.
That is correct. And then closing phase is also very important, mostly neglected. People think that, oh yeah, we have delivered the deliverables and then it is done. I always say retrospective of your, just like we do the retrospective of sprints, just like we do the retrospective of our other meetings, we do need to have the final product as well as the final report of a project. That is very, very important. So that is going to be a guideline for future projects. What happened, how we started, how we planned, what did we do good, what are the things that we did bad, where we failed, where we were successful. That report is very important, and that's very helpful for overall success of the organization. It is also going to become your organizational asset. So that's going to go into your organizational asset as well. Okay. We talked about the earned value management that we will have. And these are some of the different type of formulas that we use. I have given you a homework last time that you can go and read through those last two chapters, which was basically one was the input and output, the other one was all the formulas. You must have already reviewed them as well. These formulas, these are very, very important. So here is an exam trick I give you. In the exam, you cannot bring anything from outside, which means that you cannot have this as a cheat sheet with you, or that this is a cost variance. How do I take the find out what the cost variance is? How do I find out what's my earned value is? So what is the estimated at completion? You know the definition, but you don't know how to actually calculate that one. In order to do that, definitely you need all these formulas. I think in the exam, the only thing you can take is a pen, a piece of paper, and which should not be a cheat sheet, just a piece of paper just to write something, and a calculator. So one of the things that you can do is, or most of the people who have done, and I did as well, I memorize all these formulas, but I was not sure how long I will memorize all of them. So I was literally, just before going into the examination hall, I was memorizing all of them. I was reading through that, I was memorizing it. I have a photographic memory. Some of the people have that kind of thing as well. They have photographic memory. You may not even remember what you are saying, but you will remember what you see. So I have that kind of thing, a photographic memory. I can see things, and then that would stick in my mind. I went inside the exam when we were sitting over there. Now I can write down anything. So just to convert my photographic memory in onto the piece of paper, I started writing all these formulas, and I was able to cover most of it. Since I did that one, that was easier for me to now during the exam, because it's a long exam, and my mind will be, I'll be a little bit of tired as well throughout this process. I might forget what was the formula for CV, what is the formula for CPI, what is the formula for SPI. I may confuse between CPI and SPI and how to do it. Those are the things that you need to do, and for you to be successful in the exam, not only that you need to know what each one of those do, but you need to memorize these formulas, and then when you go into the exam, you write it down over there. That's if you write it down over there. Normally, unless the rules have changed, normally up until recently there was no problem. They say that if you want to write it down something over here and you want to use it later on, you can, and then you can use it throughout your exam. So that's one of the trick that you can use, as one of the hack that you can use during your exam. Any questions on any of these formulas? I'm not going to go, these are pretty straightforward. You have already reviewed them as well, but just wanted to make sure that you see them all at one place, and then all of them you can look at it, that how you actually calculate the earned value.
So they let you early in the exam, like how early you can be there with your stuff at the machine?
Yeah, I would always, whenever there is an exam, one of the things that impacts my performance during the exam is if I am really rushing for something, I'm running, and then I just quickly go in there directly. I try to relax just before the exam. Maybe 15 minutes is enough, but at least 15 minutes before the exam, you should be there, or maybe half an hour. They normally give you your estimate that they say arrive. Normally, the thing is that they say arrive at least 30 minutes before the exam. That's I would always recommend. Go 30 minutes before the exam, just relax there, just go through these one, do some meditation over there as well. Make dua that you are successful in this one, and then relax. The main thing is that at the last moment, not just if you did not cover a certain topic, at the very last moment, if you try to really quickly read through that one, the chances are you may not be able to completely cover that. And you may also lose something that you already covered 2 days ago. But if your mind is relaxed, it's gonna start coming back to you again. So that's easy thing. Just go there, relax, not try to cover everything that you have done, but have your main points. Normally, you know what the politicians, what they do, they say we have our talking points, and they have talking points on the phone or on their piece of paper. These are your talking points in the exam. You are not talking to someone, but these are the things that you can use. I am into that practice these days. Recently, some of you know that I'm involved in some other activities as well, so that's why. All right, any questions on these? Okay, we're gonna jump on to our next topic, which is actually the PMBOK chapter 4, models, methods, and artifacts. And we will go through that one. Okay, anybody has any idea what is a model? Or not? We can actually go over that one. It's a representation of a framework that helps in understanding and managing various aspects of a project. So a framework, a boundary line, a set of guiding principles, that's basically your model. It's used to depict different elements of the project, such as structure, processes, relationship between the components that what you can use. So that's overall what the model is. This is a definition you will find in PMBOK as well in YouTube. Now, people have a little bit of a confusion. What is a model and what's a method on that one? So I'm gonna go and give you this one. Systematic approaches or strategies used to plan, execute, monitor, and control project. That provides a set of principles, processes, and practices that guide the project team in achieving project objectives. Anybody has any real life example of difference between model and methods?
I can go. At work, we have a process to update our estimate of completion on a monthly basis, and then we have a spreadsheet or an Oracle tool that we use to do that estimate of completion. That would be the method.
But that's a tool. Spreadsheet is a tool.
As part of the, it's not a method in this case.
In my opinion, that is a tool. I don't know specific what exactly if that tool guides you on certain things, but normally it is considered a tool. So let me give you an example that we have recently covered. Remember, we covered a book called Agile Practice Guide, and we covered within Agile, we talked about it, what is the overall Agile processes, or Agile model that is. That includes Scrum methodology is one of them that we reviewed, Kanban, Lean, even as simple as go back in time where when the Agile processes started, it's called DSDM, Dynamic Software Development Methodology. It's only the people who are old school like me, they probably remember that now. Yes, I am that old. Sorry. That I still remember that going through that one DSDM, and then that's how that process was. And Agile was evolved from those as well. So all these are different methods. Scrum is one of the method. Kanban is one of the method. Lean is one of the method. But overall, what is the overall model? The model is Agile. And what Agile is doing versus the old school waterfall is that in the old school system, we used to go with one big bang approach. And Agile, we are going through your requirements, a piece of requirements keep coming into the project. And the only time you would know when the project is complete, when you have achieved your end product that you define in the beginning, that has all the requirements, or when the new requirements stop coming. You have a set of requirements, that minimum viable product that we call it. You have. So so Agile overall is a model. Scrum is one of the methodology that we have. Now, Scrum as a methodology has a certain ceremonies or certain things to do that your team is supposed to do. But Agile, as a general at the organizational level, that's what you are defining right now. Got it? Any question on this one? Okay. The third one is a little bit easier. We talked about that one is artifacts. These are the tangible documents, deliverables, work products produced during the project lifecycle. They serve as an evidence of the project's progress. What is the main evidence for the project progress that we use pretty much across the board in every single type of project? Anybody can give me an example?
Schedule?
Yeah, schedule. Yes, one of the document. One is that, but one of the things that you use, every single one of them is also status reports.
Yeah.
Because that's giving you a progress report. Your progress of a project every week, every month, every quarter. You will know where you stand in that project. So that's
How
something.
were the documents that, for example, that were describing the product itself, like specifications?
Correct. So that is also one of the artifacts. That's also called a project artifact. So requirement document, your project specifications, your project charter, all these are artifacts that we have. Okay. So we talked about in the beginning as well, a little bit during my first lecture, but I wanted to actually keep it here, and I wanted to come to when we actually discuss the project performance indicators that we have. So with the performance domains that we talked about in the beginning, that we have stakeholders, teams, development approach and life cycle, planning, project work, delivery, measurements, uncertainty. All these are the project performance domains that we have. We talked about the models. Models are feeding into those and using the different type of depending upon what the development approach we have, methods we are using, we will produce the artifacts at the end. So model is feeding in and artifacts is the output of that one. That's an overall principle of a project management you have. In general, we as a project manager be a diligent, respectful, caring steward of the project, recognize, evaluate, and respond to the system interactions that you have. You navigate complexity and see what are the different type of complexities you have. You look into the risk management and risk responses that you have. You continue to improve that one to optimize those things. You demonstrate the leadership behaviors. That's overall as a project manager you have. Create a collaborative team and a collaborative team environment. Your team can only function if you have an enabling environment. If you don't have an enabling environment, you would not be able to effectively work with your team. Effectively engage with the stakeholders, that's very important. Can anybody tell me what's the method of engaging with the stakeholders effectively?
Doing
Face-to-face meetings, or like one-on-one meetings, or like team meetings, basically, right? Regular.
Communication. Yes.
I mean, yeah.
Meetings is communication. So communication is a key.
Communication.
So we said that a communication plan we will prepare. That's one of the things that you have. And then we also need to look at it depending upon what type of you context you're using. You can tailor your project, your methodology as well. So PMI does not restrict you that you have to use very restrictively only this method or that method. You can take a method, you can tailor it as per your own requirement, and then you can move on to the and then you can make it work for your project. Every project is
Gulbhai, we use like refinement and grooming, we call those sessions, like, wherein we call all the stakeholders and try to gather requirements. And
exactly. You can continue to discuss with engage with your stakeholders. Some of the stakeholders want to be active. Some of the stakeholders would be just passive. They would just sit back and they say, give me the end result. But some of the stakeholders, they want to be very actively participating in your project, which means they want to be there when you are making any major decisions. Remember, as a project manager, you are the leader. It is your responsibility. You are basically in the cockpit. And I give you one story on this one, and that will give you exactly the context or your role for the principles of a project manager. And this is a real story, real life story. Long time ago, there was in one of the international airline in Pakistan, they were flying over, I think the flight was from Karachi to Lahore, in two of the major cities. And all of a sudden, there was too much turbulence. And turbulence was so bad and it was so sudden that the plane actually had really a big dips as well. Interestingly, the chairman of that airline, the president of that airline, he was traveling in the same flight. And he happened to be a retired Air Force pilot. And not just the Air Force pilot, he happened to be one of the very, very skilled, very decorated Air Force pilot. He could fly any plane. What he did is that, that was a long time ago, so probably I don't know the logistical details, but probably at that time the cockpit doors were not that secure and all that as well, or maybe they were. But then he walked over there, and somehow he went into the cockpit and asked pilot, "What happened?" And the response from the pilot was, he looked back, he said, "Sir, seatbelt sign is on. I'm in charge right now. Go back, sit on your seat. We are in control." And then he went back. The pilot continued. Everyone was thinking this pilot has lost his job, because this is what he said to the president of the airline. He should not have said that, because the president of the airline was very decorated person, a very skilled pilot, very decorated pilot. And when the flight landed, he was also sure that he said, "Yeah, I did what I did because I did not want at that time anybody else come in and tell me what to do while I know what I'm doing, and I knew I have all the parameters in front of me, and I knew how to take my flight safely out of this turbulence and land safely and save all the passengers." Flight landed safely, no injuries, nothing. Yes, turbulence was there. And then at the end, when he went out there, and he got the message that the president wants to see you. When the president actually saw him, he stood up over there, and he gave him a standing ovation, and he said, "This is exactly what I wanted from every single one of my pilots. They should not be listening to or saying, oh, whatever they say, he's the boss, so he can say whatever. For this project, I am the boss. I am in control. I am the project manager. I will run this project the way I am doing it." That's exactly the approach that you need to have as a project manager. And that does not mean that you don't need to listen to the others. You need to listen to all the inputs, get all the inputs that you want. That's why stakeholders are very important. But then stakeholders should not be directing your decisions. They should not be telling your team what to do. They should not be planning your work. They should not be executing your work. They should not be telling you what kind of measurements you need to have. As a project manager, you need to do it. That's why you see here, your project performance domains are right in the middle, and then you have all these inputs are here. So this is where the performance domains, that's where the project manager will be sitting and doing it. Okay, enough for the stories. Any questions on this slide? All right, we talked about the leadership. Now we're going to talk about, there are different types of leadership that we have. Situational leadership is one of the example of that one. I'm going to go into some of those leadership or some of those definitions as well. I don't know whether in the exam they will go into that detail. Sometimes they do, but most of the time they don't care what's the name of the author of this particular or inventor of this particular exam or this particular process. But these are the different type of the leaderships and different models that you can use. And if you remember the names of the people as well, that's great. I normally myself, I don't really go into that and try to remember each one of those person's name. However, if in the exam, it's better if you have the names as well. Okay. So Ken Blanchard's situational leadership 2, that's, I don't know what happened, why it is 2, why it is not called 1. Maybe he has already introduced 1 and that's a different one. In this one, the main parameters for the situational leadership is competence and commitment. So he says that if your leadership is the one that you are in this particular situation, you have a competence, and then you have the commitment. These are how competent you are, how committed you are, that drives your whole leadership of that one. That's one of the situational leadership that you have. The other second model that we have is called Oscar. Oscar is outcome, situation, choices and consequences, actions and reviews. That's basically tells you the overall in that situational leadership that what is the outcome that of that particular project that you need, that drives what type of the leadership that you need to have. Have you heard of those the people who are into Super Bowl is coming tomorrow, and then other as well, that when you have a certain goal in your mind, that's where you decide how aggressive or passive I need to be, right? Anybody, you have a target to achieve. Based on that target, you decide what type of leadership I need to have, whether I should go really very assertive, very aggressive, or I need to take a chill pill, go slowly, and then start keep building the momentum on top. Both are okay, but both are the ones that are driven by your possible outcome of that one. And then the overall situation, based on the situation, you keep on changing the things. Every action has a reaction. Every choice has a consequence. So it's everything comes with the package. I always use this term that everything comes with the package, which means whatever the choices you make, there are certain consequences for that. Some consequences are going to be good, some consequences are going to be bad for you. However, you just need to make sure that the choices I make will have consequences attached to that one, and I have to live with those. You have to, based on that one, you need to also define some actions, and those actions will drive that this is a choice, these are the consequences. Now I'm making the actions, and then you see that if you're getting exactly the same consequences or not, and then you go back and review that as well and understand that. So Oscar model is leadership, that's very popular. Normally I go with that one, that approach as well. One of my favorite, so that you have control over overall situation, your overall outcome that you are expecting, the choices you are making, and already know what are the consequences for them. You're making the decisions, taking the actions, and then you review that and then go back and do that again. All right. The next one after the leadership model, another one is a communication model. This is very important. One is that the cross-culture communication. Cross-culture communication means that the sender's knowledge and relationship with the receiver. So any message you are sending out, that has to be tied up with the relationship with your receiver that you have, and also knowing the culture of that, how the receiver is going to be perceiving this one. Same thing other way around. When you are receiving a message, your interpretation is going to be based on knowledge and relationship with your sender. One common example is that how you communicate with your boss versus how you communicate with your childhood friend is totally going to be different. Might be you might use a very polite words, politically correct word with your boss, but still the message is very tough. And you might use some very aggressive, very carefree words when communicating with your friend, but the message is still very sweet. That's the difference between the two. So cross-cultural communication is very, very important. What are the different effectiveness of a communication? You handle multiple information cues simultaneously, depending upon what type of the information that is coming in. Facilitate rapid feedback. So if you are communicating with someone, you need to get the feedback as well. I after half of these the classes are over, I sent out this survey, and one of the question was, are you satisfied with the way the progress of this training that is going on? I'm communicating with you through a medium right now. So I asked the question whether you want to continue with this medium, or you want to go back and do an in-person interaction more, that is more effective, so that I can get some feedback from you. I can understand. I can, sitting over here, I can only predict or think that I'm doing good job or bad job, but I won't know until I get a feedback from you. And thank you very much for everyone for providing me your feedback, and everyone who actually filled out that survey. That's why, based on that survey, we decided to continue these classes online rather than in person. I have overwhelming majority actually said that we're going to go with online. Few people have liked this, the way we are doing it. Some people gave few suggestions as well. Thank you very much for your feedback. And then I'll be adding and accommodating those feedback and suggestions into my future lectures as well. One of the communication model that we have seen is called Gulf of Execution and Evaluation. It's by Donald Norman, and he says that the degree to which an item corresponds with what a person expects to do. So if your execution of any communication that you're doing, if it is doing the job, if you get the message, no matter how good or bad it is, that means that the communication has been effective. So that's what it says. So you executed it, and it has the evaluation right away. That's one of the communication models that you have. Any question on this? Anybody has any question, comment, concern?
Brother Gul, I guess I'm just thinking, what kind of questions can be asked in the exam around this? This is straight. I want to say it's the common sense of doing business, but I'm just thinking how they frame questions around that.
Yeah, again, as most of the questions are situational, I don't expect they would be asking you who's the author of Gulf of Execution and Evaluation.
Yeah,
Or
okay.
this was authored by Donald Norman or Gul Khan. They should not have this kind of questions, but they should be asking you, they might be asking you what is the degree of which items corresponds with what a person expects to do it. Does it do or not? What type of model it is? So you need to know the type of the model that we're talking about. It's a communication model, and what are the different effectiveness of communication that you have, and they might have certain choices. Out of those choices, maybe sometimes what they do is that they have group 1 choice, group 2 choice, group 3 choice, and then group 4 choices. Then you have to look at it, which ones are the most effective ones. So one of, and again, this is my personal experience with PMI has been, if you have studied good and you know what the project management is, the moment you will see any choices for any questions, normally there are 4. Again, that's why I'm saying normally. It could be different number as well, so don't quote me on that, but normally there are 4 choices. 2 of those choices, you would right away know that they are wrong. And out of the remaining 2, they both would look like they are both right. That's
Exactly.
why you need to. Sorry, Brother Wahab, you have a question?
No question. I got the same exactly. I checked few of the question exactly.
Correct. So out of the remaining 2, you would think that, oh my God, both of them are correct actually. So which one should I choose? That's where your knowledge of PMBOK will come in. That would basically how much study you have done for those books. That would tell you that you need to choose the one that PMBOK think is the most appropriate one. That has been my experience. And by the way, if you are a very seasoned project manager, and this is still you did not do PMP and this is the first time you're doing it, sometimes even that is a problem, because as per your experience, you think that the option number 2 is more appropriate, whereas the PMBOK thinks the option number 1 is more appropriate. So if when you are passing the exam, I would say choose option number 1 rather than 2, because that's gonna decide whether you pass or fail that question. So that also happens. It happened to me when I was doing it. I had a project management experience. Sometimes I was thinking, no, man, this is no way that these two out of these two, what is the best approach is this one. I choose one, but then I started thinking, does the PMBOK say something different? Since I did some study in the PMBOK already, then I realized that okay, as per the PMBOK, it's the other one, and I remembered. Then when I was even reading through that chapter in PMBOK at that time as well, I was questioning whether why they are saying this is the best option, where not the other one. So in this case, since I'm in the exam, I need to choose the one that PMBOK thinks is the right one. Okay. All right. The next one is another model. We are not going to go into these models. Anybody who has done, who has ever attended or took a course of organizational behavior, you must have read through these motivational models as well. Hygiene and motivational factors, intrinsic versus extrinsic motivational, theory of needs, theory X, Y, and Z. All these four are in the book. I'm not going to go into the details of these theories, but you should actually read these in the chapter number 4. If you have already read through in your coursework as well during your bachelor's, your master's, it's pretty much the same factors are there that you have. Okay, we're going to spend some more time on the change models. In the change models, since earlier as well, when we started this lecture, we have had some questions on what are the different type of changes that we have. Okay, and one of the change model is organizational change management. That's a very common, most effective one, and then the different type of changes that you're making at an organizational level. So the way you do is, this is very simple, that you formulate change. Basically, when the change is coming, somebody tells you that what to do, what are the things that needs to be done. You take that one and then you formulate those changes, document that one. Once you have you have it documented. And by the way, this is normally written in your change management plan already during your planning phase. Then you plan the change, that this particular change, if it's a civil engineering work, if it's you are transforming your car into a race car. Anybody's into the race car hobby? Okay.
Not really.
Sorry, say that again.
Not really.
Okay. People actually go they try to see the improvement in their pickup speed and of the torque of your engine, the output of your engine, even if it's 0.001% that you have. So they identify what are the different type of the changes that we need to do. And then they see that they plan it in such a way that, okay, this is a change. So now you are transforming your normal car into a race car. And then you are modifying it. You are adding some lights to your car. That's your change. You're formulating your change. Have anybody seen in our Folsom city streets, Folsom and other citrus height area, there is a like a bunch of cars at night. Normally they're just driving through, then they have some blinking lights. Those are one of the politician, YK. He's been, driving his car, and there's a bunch of other volunteers as well with him. They're driving so with the blinking lights. So they're modifying their cars or modifying this change. So they are actually, these are the changes that are being introduced to the original planned product. Then you implement those changes. So whatever the things that you planned, now you can start implementing them as well. You add that, oh, these are the things that I'm adding to in my change, and how to, this is your executing phase. And when you actually execute, at that time, what happens? You are introducing those changes, so you transform from old system, from old process onto the new one. And now this new one is the change that you have to make. And what happens that, the human tendency is that we try to live in our comfort zone. We don't want change. And I remember that a long time ago, one of my teacher actually taught me one thing, and that I normally tell to the other people as well. That's called, the only constant thing in your life should be change. So it means that if you are stuck, you're stuck at one place and you are not willing to make any changes, that it means that you are not executing your life properly. So you're transforming from your one scenario or your one state of mind, state of the product, into the other one. And now there is going to be some resistance to that change. And in order to fight that resistance to that change, you have to sustain that change. Most of the time, whenever a change has been introduced, I would say about more than 90% of the times, you will be able to achieve the first four. You formulate the change, plan change, implement change, transition and transform as well. But then people don't sustain that change. They tend to go back to the old way. They lose what the changes that brought into this product. So that's very, very important that you make sure that whenever you are making any change at the organization level, you sustain those changes. Any question on this organization change management? All right. This is my favorite. We do a lot of team building activities even at my workplace as well. I don't know, can you see my camera right now? Anybody,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we
So this is the card I use. This is also, it says the same, add car. It's called add car model. So I wish I'll probably just try to make a PDF of that, scan this one, and then I'll share it with you guys later on. So I use this card a lot for all the changes we want to make. Add car is a very effective model that we use for changes. It's called awareness of the change. That why are we making this change? Sometimes people want to make change because they say, oh, we want to make that change. Okay, why? And they don't have any answer for that. Why? Because everyone is saying that change is good, so we do it, but there has to be a rationale. Remember, earlier I was explaining you about the changes, and I said your change management should have this information: the date that change has been introduced, what is the change, what is the impact of that one, when is it due, and rationale for that change. If you don't have a rationale for that change, there is no reason for making that change at all. So very simple. People say that wake up early to bed and early to rise. If I tell somebody, hey, early to bed and early to rise, and he said, no, I'm okay. I can just chill, wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then I go back to bed around 2 a.m. and I'm perfectly fine. I need to give them a reason, a rationale why they should make that change and what's the benefit of that one. That's the awareness of change. Second is desire to change. If I tell you that you need to start making changes in your daily life, and then you need to start waking up early in the morning instead of going to bed late at night, there, and you understand that as well, that yes, this is the benefit of that, but then do you want to reap the benefits of that, or those benefits or not? If you say that, no, yeah, that's good, but too tough for me, I don't want to do that, there's no desire to change, then there's no point in making any of those changes. I give you another example which is related to my one of my personal life event that I'm doing now. Is we keep sitting over here and in the city, in our county, in our state, and at the national level as well, we keep complaining about things that we want change in Washington. We say the president is not doing this, he's not doing his job, I can do better. Or my senator is not doing a proper job. Or my congressman is not doing it, a woman is not doing it, the right thing to do. Or my city council or my state or governor of my state is not doing the right thing. That's awareness of the change, that you want to change that. Then the other thing is that do you have a desire to make that change or not? Are you doing something about it? Yes, you want that, you are aware of those changes, but are you making some effort to make that change or not? Because the desire is your actions are driven by your desire, otherwise they are not. So that's another thing that you do. The third thing that you do is that the knowledge about the change, which means that I gave you the example that we just sit on the sideline, we complain about what the politicians are not doing right. Do we even know how they do it? And do we even know how to do it? If you know that they are not doing it right, but I know how this thing works, because sometimes when you go to a politician and say, ask them this question point blank, why did you do it this way, not that way? Why are you just wasting too much of our taxpayer money and not actually doing anything good for our citizens? They have their own reasons for that. Unless you have a knowledge about that change, you cannot make that change. They'll give you a reason, you'll say, yeah, he's right, okay, so go back to where the change we were before, so there's no need for any change. We're going to continue the same way as we have been doing it. That's what people do. So you need to have the knowledge about those changes as well. The fourth thing is that now you have the knowledge, you have a desire, and then you were aware of that one as well. So what do? Do you have an ability to to implement that? That is the most important one. People, most of the time, the first three, you can do it. The fourth one, you don't do it. If I ask anybody that, do you want to make any changes in your elected representatives? They say we do. When I tell them, okay, can you do it? They say, no, oh, no, that's a politics. I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get involved into that. That's the main thing. Or people point blank say that I don't have ability to get involved into these kind of things. I have a family to raise, I have my business, I have this and I have that. So I don't want to get involved into those things. That's the ability to implement. So if you don't have an ability to implement in ADKAR model as well, you'll fail, because even though you are aware of the changes you want to make, you have an intention to make those changes, you desire for that, you know what needs to be corrected and how, but you don't have an ability to actually go in and do that implementation, then you don't do it. But then whoever has the ability to implement, if that person goes in and do it, then you can, you say, okay, yeah, that's fine. At least this is my ability. I can support you and you do it. And the last but not the least is that reinforcement of that change. That's exactly as in the upper model we mentioned, an organizational change management is sustained change. Reinforcement is also one of those. It's the same thing. You have to make sure the changes that you have brought into this model, into this into this city, in your project, in your life, you need to make sure that you reinforce them. If you have made that change that you used to like wake up 10 o'clock in the morning and go to bed at 2 a.m. Now that you have making that change and you started going to the bed at 9 p.m. and then waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you reinforce that. Sometime when you start going back again and then you started going into from 5 to 6, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, or again going 8 or 9 o'clock, you have to go back and reinforce it again. That's the main thing. So ADKAR model is one of the main change model that we use. It's very, very effective. Yes, Faisal bhai, you have a question?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, yeah. No, this reminds me of there's a program called by Chef Ramsay, Hell's Kitchen. First, they exactly go through this. First, they figure out there's a problem. Then they find out, are you committed? And they show them the new menu, and then they ask them, they show them implement and reinforce. Most of the people, they all go through this before they say, no, everything is good, but their food is bad. And then eventually the restaurant, majority of them end up closing because they were not committed to change and they did not reinforce that change. So it exactly goes through that model.
Yep, very good example. And yes, and I have run numerous of those workshops where I have people think that this is only specific to. They ask me this question: is this specific to your industry? And I tell them, no, it's not on one specific industry. This is at an organizational level. So anything that you do, what during my workshop, I normally what I do is that I put these charts on the wall, and I ask people where you are in your life professionally. Come in and write down where you are right now. Are you at the awareness level? Are you at the awareness and desire level as well? Or are you at the knowledge level where you have the awareness, you have the desire, and you even know that what needs to be done? Or you are you at the ability level that you have the ability to do it and you are actually doing it, or you have already done all of those and now you are reinforcing it. So these are all the things that you need to do. One very specific example, and I really commend this Faisal just brought it up, and it's a different topic, but very much I can implement it. I can explain that one using this model is Toastmaster group. All of you, or at least most of you, already aware of that one. Faisal Bhai has started a Toastmaster group. That is an excellent example. When you go in front of people and you have a shyness, you cannot talk in front of the people. You have, your gut is feeling, oh, I'm drowning. I cannot even stand when the people are staring at me. They expect me to say something and they will make fun of me because I'll be just mumbling or doing something. I'll use those filler words here and there. But that's when somebody is having all these doubts and still somebody goes in and says, okay, I have all these problems in my speech, but I can still stand in front of everyone and say a few words, have my icebreaker speech, have my discussion with the people, have my table topics to be discussed. That's where you are actually breaking all those barriers and going in front of them, and then you are actually doing that. You're making that change, because originally you were very comfortable sitting on the seat or in the couch and complaining about it that, hey, this person is not a good speaker. Maybe Trump doesn't know how to speak or Biden doesn't know how to speak. But when you go there, you say, okay, no, I'm not a people person, I'm not a speech person, but you go there in front of the people and then you break your own barrier and you stand in front of other people and you speak. that's where you are doing all of these. And then when you go next week again in that class, that's your reinforcement. Faisal bhai, did I do justice to explaining your? I'm sorry if I just.
Absolutely, this is a very good example, and that's exactly what we need. People, they in their comfort of their home, they think they're the best speaker. When they are in front of people, then they realize, oh no, I was in denial. And then when they attend, even the first or second meeting, we started to see improvement, how they were aware of all of these issues in their speech, and they took steps to fix it. So absolutely, you nailed it on the head.
All right, thank you. All right. Now, we talked about the change models. These are, again, ADKAR is one of the main model that I normally use, and I practice that as well. I train people as well on this one. One of the thing, and one of my favorite author, his name is John P. Cotter. This is his 8-step leading change. I will recommend you to, if you get a chance, go to library, buy it online. I don't know whether it's available or not, but the 2 books I always recommend: this Leading Change by John P. Cotter, and there is another one. It's called 7 Deadly Sins by John P. Cotter. These are the 2 books I always recommend for people in a professional organization to read that and understand that one. And very simply and articulately, he has explained all this. So the 8-step process of leading change is: create a sense of urgency, build a guiding coalition, because if you don't have a guiding coalition, you cannot proceed, you cannot win. Even though you know it's the right thing to do, but if you don't have an ability, or you don't have a coalition where the people are also willing to work with you, you cannot bring your change alone. Remember, they say that if you want to be successful, then walk in front, you have to walk alone in front of everyone and you'll be successful. But if you want your environment, your whole community to be successful, walk with your community, lead them into that change. So that's where you have to build a coalition and walk with them. Take everyone with you. Go with their, try to make up the pace, or pick up the pace, but bring everyone with you along in that one. Form a strategy and a vision. Why we are saying that you have to form it? Because a strategy and a vision is very important that you need to make. If you don't have a strategic vision, nobody's going to follow you. You need to have a rationale. That's where you have a rationale, that why I'm asking for this kind of change. Enlist a volunteer army, that people who are actually willing to work for you, for your cause. That's the one. If everyone is asking for that, what am I going to get out of this thing? It means they are not volunteering. If they're not volunteering, they are just working for you. Whereas if they are volunteer, they will work with you, not for you. There's a big difference between the two. Enable actions by removing barriers. That is very, very important in any organization. If you enable an environment where you are removing all the barriers, and not necessarily you have removed all the barriers and then you start it, but as you make progress, you start removing the barriers in front of you. You displace them, move them, remove them, but make way for your team to make the progress. That's for that change. Then you don't go for only with the big wins. Take a baby step at a time. You need to go in and start taking baby steps. For example, again, I'll take an example of Faisal's effort that, and I really appreciate the one of the thing that I commend here, the way the type of the work he's doing. So that's why I wanna talk about that one a little bit. That small wins are short-term wins. For example, he's setting up his Toastmaster group. He set up everything, reached out to the people as well, and then the small wins is when he is able to actually have his own chapter formally registered with the Toastmaster. So those are the small things, and then we have to continue on that one. So one baby step at a time. Take that one. Then sustain the acceleration. So you picked up the pace and you're moving forward, but make sure that it does not slow you down. Try to sustain your acceleration. And then once you have done that one and you know that you're in autopilot and you continue to make that change, and then you are in the sustained acceleration, institute that change means you have to again make sure that that becomes a process now. Create a model for that whole thing. That's a model, that becomes a guiding principle for next generation. It could be a next generation of projects, it could be a next generation of your teams, it could be a next generation of your own kids that they want to follow something. But do that. These are the 8-step process you should use when you are actually leading a change. Any question? Today we are talking about too philosophically or boring?
Very inspiring, actually.
Okay. All right. Because I have a very less questions today, so that's why I'm surprised.
No, this is a music to my ear, because you're advertising Toastmaster, and I needed 4 more members to achieve my small achievement, the charter. So this is good, man. Hopefully, I'll get 3-4 more people from this group, and we can all take benefit from it. So yes,
I'm signing up right now. Right after asking to sign up.
Who's asking about signing up?
Usman.
Osman. All right. Yes, you can message me, and I can share the information with you.
Perfect. See,
all right.
Again, I'm not doing it as, and again, Faisal and I never even talked about it that I'm gonna take that an example, but somebody in this group actually shared when I asked for the feedback, they said that give us a real life examples. And thank you very much for bringing that up. So instead of using only the projects that I do at my work, I'm trying to bring up the real life examples. And this is one of the things that is happening in front of my eyes. And the type of the work this guy is doing is amazing. I know that how difficult it is. At least I did not have ability to set up the whole group and do it. I tried to pick up something else, but not this thing I'm doing right now. So yeah, this is exactly what how you make change. You bring the team together. So this is not only just the change, this is basically the team building as well. So this ad card that I follow and I use, the ad card model, I don't do it just for the changes. I do it for team building as well. So when you are actually building the team, you working as a cohesive team, that's where you apply that method as well, and you build that as well. Just give me 1 minute. I'm gonna just take one brief break for water, and then we're gonna continue. Okay. Okay, I'm back. All right. Moving on to the next one. Basically, We talked about change models. We talked about how to lead the change. And now there is a, in the change itself, we have that the transitions, that how we are gonna actually manage the transition. So William Bridges is one of the author of this model. It's called Bridges Transition Model. It's managing transitions, making the most of change. How you do it? You need to understand which zone you are in right now. Over the period of time, when you are making some progress, you have productivity during your transition, how it's gonna go. So your productivity is gonna go down when you are starting the change. You see that the endings, the shocked, angry, denial, fearful, sad, all these are I mentally disoriented. That's another thing that I introduce here. People say all these kind of things when you are bringing any change. So your productivity, your team productivity is going to go down the drain. And then you are in a neutral zone when you actually transitioning from old system to a new system. You're introducing your old habits to a new habits. You started waking up 4 o'clock in the morning. You still have a habit of still going to bed at maybe from 2 to 1 a.m. or still by midnight, but still you started waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. It means your sleep level has gone from 8 hours to 4 hours, and you are tired all day. Your productivity started going down, and you start thinking, why am I doing it? Then you start going from down there, and then you're confused, you're disoriented, you're frustrated because now you don't have energy, you're skeptical whether it's going to work or not, apathetic. All these things are going to happen to you. That's your neutral zone when you are struggling through that one. And it's just a matter of time doing it again and again and again. Sustain it. If you do it systematically and you sustain that change, you will start seeing that the new beginnings. You'll start instead of continue to go to bed at midnight and wake up at 4 o'clock. You're gonna start going to bed at from midnight to 10 o'clock, from 10 o'clock to maybe 9 o'clock. You're gonna start doing it so that you have full 8 hours of sleep, whatever is your sleep needs are. You're gonna start waking up energetic. You'll start seeing the benefits of that, you're doing it, and then you are more committed to that. That's your new beginning. So this productivity versus time relationship is very, very important. You should look into this, that in this way, that you in the beginning it's going to be tough. You will be angry actually, and then if you do it, you will be at the lowest of your performance. You'll see all kind of a bad things that are happening. I give you one example. This time it's not from Faisal's real life. It's a real life, the new venture that I've been doing. Some of you already know that I'm running for Folsom City Council this year. So what happened that when I started it in the beginning, I was like in denial. Do I make that change? Should I make that change? I'm having very comfortable life. I'm having very comfortable. My weekends are good. I normally spend weekends either sleeping in or working on other things that I like, but I don't want to be too much involved into the public service meetings and all that. And then I going into that one, and then I thought, okay, I should make that change. So I started making that change. When I was making that change, what happened that in the beginning, I had too much in my plate. I was working in my training classes. I was doing my full-time job. I'm running my business. And now these are the things that I have to do. So I have absolutely no time for myself or for my family. that makes me shocked, denial, fearful, sad, a little bit angry as well. Why am I doing it? And then I went into the neutral zone now, where I'm a little bit confused, disoriented, that why, questioning why should I do it or not, skeptical. But then I systematically continue to do that. And then I started seeing the benefits of that. So now I'm seeing that those benefits, people are now, things are in place. I'm more organized now. I'm running my classes, but at the same time, I have my public engagements as well that is happening right now. So those are the things that keep on building. I would say I'm right now, I don't know if you can see my mouse, I'm somewhere over here, not here. Usman is looking at it right now. So he's smiling. I see your smile, Usman. But yeah, right here I'm somewhere, but not, this is where I want to be. So, but one thing I know over the period of time that I have looked at it in the past and trained my teams as well, that if you continue to make that progress slowly, you will achieve your goals as well. So always remember three things: ending, neutral zone, and beginning, new beginnings. Any question on this?
I have a question. Brother Bill, I have a
Sure,
question.
sure, go ahead.
So you were saying how with this model being systematic, added over time, it becomes more sustainable. Can you give any more specific examples of that? Because I'm just looking at it as you're adding more things, and that's kind of like at the end of it where you're feeling angry or it's just too much to handle. But you're adding it at some point, you're going to have to remove some things or prioritize some things where it becomes sustainable. Can you give any specifics?
Yep, very good question. So the key over here is this one, endings. So if you look at these changes, this ending, because you are picking up new stuff to making change, but at the same time you are getting rid of the old habits. You're getting rid of the old things that you're doing. If you continue to have your baggage in your life in the past, and then you continue to have that baggage with you in your new life as well, you are gonna be exhausted and it's not sustainable. The only way that to do that is to let go. So letting go is one of the main things that we have. That's why whenever, if you are in a relationship, in any kind of a relationship, and one way or other that relationship does not work out, the only way to move forward with your life is to let go. So you have to let go of a few of the things that you have been doing in the past, and you have to let them go and then say, okay, no, I'm not doing it anymore. I'll give you the example that the analogy I was using earlier for just making that change, that you, instead of going to bed at 2 a.m. at night and then waking up at 10 a.m. in the morning, between 10:30 and 2 a.m., what you doing? Maybe you are watching TV. Maybe you are just catching up on your binge watching, or you are on your serials, TV serials or something that you're watching. You have to give up on something on there. Say, okay, I'm not gonna go and spend that much time on my TV. I'm gonna let that go. Or maybe you are doing during that time something else. You have some work that you're doing at that time. So you need to organize it such a way that some of these things I have to either reschedule it or I have to give them up. If you don't let the things go, then you won't have you won't have a room to pick up new stuff. Here I remember that, and I wish we would be right now in a in-person training room. And it's a famous quote by Dalai Lama. I know how many of you know him. He's a very famous, I would say, a scholar from Buddhist scholar from China or from Tibet. He somebody asked him that I want to learn new things, and but I don't know how to do it. So he said, the first, empty your mind. That what he did is that there was a glass full of water, and he picked up the jug and started actually pouring more water onto that. What happened that the water was just spilling away because the glass was already full. He said, you have so much stuff in your mind already in your life that you cannot have more things in your life. The only way you can get more knowledge, have more things in your life, have someone new in your life is if you empty your plate a little bit. If you empty your glass half full and then you have more water in there. If you continue to have all these things in your life that you already have, and then you try to add more and bring that change, that's where it makes you shocked, angry, denial, fearful, sad, confused, disoriented. That's where you will be. So even when you are angry, in denial, or in fearful, sad as well, that's where your performance is going down. But if you continue to make that change during your neutral zone, still you are confused, still you are disoriented, still you are frustrated and skeptical and apathetic. But these things are going to happen to you, and then you are in a neutral zone that you say that I have come long way, so I need to just continue to make that progress. That's where you have to do. And then the old habits that you are having, the old activities that you're doing between, that is basically hampering your ability to go back to bed early and then wake up early in the morning. That maybe you might want to shift some of your stuff that you're doing between 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. You have to shift those from 10 p.m. to maybe 5 o'clock in the morning. You do that. I had a very bad habit of really going to bed very late and then waking up in the morning. And I'm kind of a person, I just need 6 hours of sleep and then I'm fresh. And still, that was a bad habit I had. I changed it. And what I did, the only thing I did was I set up the time that I need to go to bed at this time. And then during those 3 or 4 hours of at night extra that I was doing, I moved that stuff. For example, my habit was, if I have to prepare for an exam, if I have to prepare a presentation or practice something, anything I want to do, I wanted to spend time at night and then sleep. So instead of doing that, what I did is that I would just stop at my time when I have to go to bed. I go to bed in the morning, I just wake up, I pray, and then I just start working on those things, that my assignment or things that I need to do that I was planning to do at after 10 p.m. at night. I'll start working on them at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning, and still I'm able to do it. But then this time my mind was more fresh.
Can I ask a quick question on the example you just gave? But this transition is important because you went through the first step, which was the model of understanding why you want to implement this transition, right? I think that is very important for that transition to take place, correct?
Yeah. That's why the awareness and the second in ADKAR is that desire to participate and desire to do it.
Got it.
So these are the two major things. The first two actually motivated me to do it. Okay, any more questions?
I think this model is like very dramatic. I don't know whose bridges this, but I mean, I don't think every change has to come up with, or you start every change with these feelings, right? I mean, if you're eager to change and you think it's for the, for the better, I don't know, like I would
Yeah,
like
think
maybe
of the time. Think of the time. I was also thinking the same lines.
like,
Think
did you
of the
feel like
time, like
that way when you got married,
as
Abid?
no, not married. I was gonna give
Imagine.
the yeah, I was giving the example of this political environment changes, like from Bush to Obama to so that change is different, right? You were not at the ending of the that season or whatever, right? That was not shocked, angry, or whatever. It was more happy, joyous, right? When Obama came in, like, okay, we thought, okay, the one thing is gone, the better thing is coming up. So you felt a little better and then energized and all that, right? But that because you're happy with the ending, uh,
I mean,
which means that
I agree with you,
this
but
model is flipped, right?
I mean, I agree. There is some fear. There is some, like, your conscience comes back, because, like, how do you make sure that the change is gonna work 100%, right? Even if it's for the better, but there's always a chance that things will not go right. So I mean, I understand some of it, but it's just, I don't know. Bridges like models it like it's a, I don't know, a huge step, you know.
So your point is right that this is very dramatic. However, because we are talking about three zones, we are talking about endings, neutral zone, and then new beginnings. So this is, again, we are not talking about a specific one. If it's a small change, for example, from tomorrow onward, you're going to stop eating more fatty food and then start eating more protein and more that kind of work food that you have to add. Maybe it's not that dramatic, not that you're not angry that much, you're not fearful, you're not that, maybe you are sad, but not that much. But if it's you give an example of if you're getting married, and for some people it's that kind of experience very good. Some people sometimes it's a dramatic experience as well. So it all depends. That the main thing is it's these are the three zones that we have. So for Bridges, that's what the William Bridges actually mentioned, that this is these are the three zones that you are going to be in. You might have those changes as well. Now, coming to from a real like generic life example to the professional examples, I can tell you very clearly. We at UC Davis, I was trying to, not me actually, UC Davis was trying to move everything, all their software development processes from a traditional waterfall methodologies to agile methodology, and they were not able to do it. They tried it for 2 or 3 years. They had all the tools available. They had a couple of people who were even CSM certified Scrum Masters, and they would say, let's do this one. But then eventually what they were doing is they were doing everything the same way as they used to do in the past. Then they decided that we're gonna hire a professional consultant who can come in and then help us jump onto the agile bandwagon instead of just thinking that we are doing agile, but actually they're not. That's where I joined UC Davis. I started working with them, and then there was a transformation that we have to bring. Every time there was a project, they would say, yeah, this is the project, we'll do the requirement part and then we'll move on to the development. And we would just set up a development team when the requirements are over. And I said, no, you need to set up your development team and your testing team right when you are actually working on your requirement. And they said, no, that's too much cost. And I said, yes, it is a cost, but we have to do that because we are now transitioning from old processes to the new processes. So that's where they were shocked. They were angry. Why? Because they had to put some, spare some extra budget for that one. They were in denial that no, it's not going to work. they were fearful that it's what you're saying is not sustainable for our project, for our organization. Maybe some people were sad as well, but I said, yeah, but this is, if you want to practice this is how you're going to be doing it. So I trained one of their project manager who was also a CSM, and we both actually started making that change in one at a time in their projects. So there were about 26 different projects going on. We started transforming one project at a time. So then they were more confused. Why? Because they were saying they had a shared team. So the team says that in one project, I'm going through my traditional way of doing it. In the other project, I have to go through this new way of doing it. I'm totally confused. Which one is right? Which one is wrong? Where am I doing right and where am I doing wrong? Sometimes I answer and I feel that I should work in this way or the old way or the new way. That where we made the team too confused. But we said this is the only way to do it, just to keep going. We picked up one project out of 26, then we picked up the second one, then we picked up the third one. And the team started seeing some progress when we were 20 plus projects. So the first 20 projects, team was totally confused. We were just, fearful that they'll start saying that, oh no, we don't need this one. We're going to go back to the old way. But after about 20 projects, we started picking up and started making those changes in their processes. That's where they started seeing the change. Now the team started working actually in that way. When the whole team started working that way, that's where they started seeing the difference. And eventually we started seeing the whole team actually came behind us and we were able to change it. So that's a professional thing which we did from an old waterfall software development methodology into the Scrum Agile software development methodology. So it was still dramatic over there. Maybe for some people it's not too much, but for some it was actually pretty dramatic. Okay, any more questions? All right. So here are the performance domains we looked at earlier, and these are the different models we studied today. We just went through them, and this is one of the chart that is available in the book as well, PMBOK. But just wanted to show you that where each one of them, which performance domain each one of them is effective. So one of the question could be, a possible question is that, for example, they say at Oscar, which performance domain this belong to, or which performance domain, which of the performance domains Oscar model is effective. So you can say it's a project work and team. That's where it is. Then you can, there's ADCAR is another example. It's a stakeholders, planning, and the project work, where it is doing. So those the different performance domains that you have. So this just going through having this chart and understanding this chart, each one of them actually works a lot. That works very well for you. We did not go through each one of them. For example, the complexity models, Stacy matrix. I don't think so. The Stacy matrix and all that with the names, they don't ask for the names, but they might ask you what are the eight-step process of leading change. So if you're doing a leading change and this is an organization level, you will know exactly where it falls in. Then the complexity models as well, that where we have uncertainties, those complexity models are there. The last block of this one says other models. For example, we have a conflict, negotiation, planning, process groups. Process groups are the same that we already studied. That is initiation, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. That's a process groups. So salience is another one as well. So these are the different models I would recommend when you are actually studying for your exam. Just go through that one and then read it through. That will be helpful for you. Okay. All right. We have about 15 minutes. Today we have made a good progress as well. And so I'm planning to just finish all these three by 4 o'clock. And then after the break, we will talk about the some of the homework that we had to do that I gave you last week. Okay. Methods. We have data gathering and analysis, estimating, meetings and events. These are all the different methods these different types of the methods that we have. If you go into the book, you will see actually 2 pages full of all the methods that have been defined over there. But these methods that are the ones that we already discussed it. We were less focused on the models earlier. That's why I explained models in more depth. But methods are the ones that we reviewed it earlier as well during our process groups. We went through the methods as well, so I'm not going to go into the details of those methods, but overall they are these types of methods that we have where we are doing the data gathering and analysis, estimating and meetings as well. As a matter of fact, we can actually go and see these different type of methods that we have looked at it here. So if you look at these methods, let's go the list of the methods that we have. I'm not going to read through or recite each one of them, but you just go, let's take a minute and then look at all these different type of methods that you have and see where they fall in performance domains. Overall, I'm looking at the big categories of them, which is the data gathering and analysis methods. We have estimating methods and meetings and event methods. And then we have some other methods as well that are being used for impacting and modeling and prioritization, schema, and time boxing as well. Anybody has any question on any of these methods that most of these methods we already covered during our process group review previous lectures that we have done. One of the method that we did not use review, I believe, in the past lectures, but I use that method a lot. That's called the last one, which is time boxing. Time boxing is very, very effective method. And time boxing is the method that you normally use with end in your site. You can go, have you ever heard of the term called ground up? Right? Ground up is ground up approach and time boxing approach. These are two totally opposite to each other. They're both very effective. And can anybody tell me an example of a ground up? Why, which one is more effective, and in what situation ground up is more effective, and in what situation time boxing is more effective?
I can try. When estimating proposals for lump sum contracts, we probably want to do a ground up estimate that we know everything and estimate every piece. But if we are trying to do a study where we don't know where it's going to go, we try to go with like time and material contracts. So we try to do a time frame estimates, how much we think we're going to provide support in a time frame of a period of time or something like that.
Very good example. Anybody else? Okay. The ground up is very accurate, but that requires a lot of knowledge about the project. So if you have a clarity in your requirements, if you have a clarity in your timelines, in your resources, and you know exactly how much time each one of those requirements are going to take, then you start estimating it from a ground up approach. That is more accurate, but it's more time consuming. It takes more time to actually plan that. And it does not have any room for uncertainties. Remember, one of the performance model is uncertainty. So the ground up does not have that much. Time boxing, on the other hand, does have approach for room for uncertainty. I'm surprised why PMBOK did not have a checkbox over there in the last column as well for time box. Actually, it is supposed to be there. And again, that's where one of those things that I disagree with PMBOK. But when you have a question, just go with the PMBOK, not what I think, because you have to pass the exam. But in my personal opinion, time box is the one I normally use when there is an uncertainty. So I go with, for example, I have a project and that needs to be finished by the end of this year. So I always go with the end in my mind, saying, okay, let's start with this one. If this by the end of this year the project has to be completed, it means that project has to be ready by, let's say, by Christmas time. And from there, that's my end product. If I go back, I give 4 weeks of that one, which is basically your the final acceptance of the project, of the product that we have. Before that one, how much time I would need to do the testing? Maybe another 4 weeks for the testing, which means that now we're talking about from 25th of December to 25th of November, from 25th of November back to another 4 weeks. That's 25th of October. And then I'd say if I need 4 weeks of testing, and now before that one, I need the construction phase, that will take at least 2 months or 3 months. If it takes 3 months, then I take 3 months on that one. So in October means that, what's that? August, September, October, right? So 25th of July, I have to start that work so that I can complete it in 3 months and by 25th of October. And then that will give me another time. Okay, now before that one, for the project planning, how much time I need. So I would need maybe another 2 months to do the project planning, which means that by end of July, my planning has to be completed in order for me to start the construction of that one. Which means what? Now started 2 months behind, reverse 2 more months over there, and then go back 2 months from July is what date? May, 25th of May, June and July. So that's 2 months. And now from 25th of May, if I just take, so now I have time to do the project initiation and requirement gathering between today's February, from February till, or from the project kickoff, whenever is the project kickoff. Let's say the project kickoff is from project kickoff, it's going to take whatever the time. And if I don't know exactly what my project kickoff date would be, and I need, let's say, 2 months to just do from kickoff to project gathering, requirement gathering, which means that in order to do that, I have to have my project kickoff by 25th of March, so that I can take those from kickoff in March 25th. 2 months from there is going to be May 25th. And then from 2 months, another one, and then add 3 months, and then add 4 weeks. So that basically gives you a time box approach for overall project structure timeline. I did not go into how many resources are there. I did not go into what is the scope of that one now. I just did a time box on that. This is a very high level, but this gives you another high level idea. So I use the time box approach to do a high level planning, and then I go into each one of these phases, and then I do bottom up for each phase. So that's a combination of the two you use. In that way, you will be most effectively, you will be doing the project planning of that. Any question on this? Okay. That brings to the our last topic, which is artifacts, and we're gonna just take a break right after this slide. This is these are the artifacts. We already talked about these artifacts, that any kind of documents that you produce, they are artifacts. Strategic artifacts are there. You have your logs and registers. You have your plan artifacts that are there. And then you can also have your reports and visual data information and agreements and contracts as well. So if you look at it, I have these three categories right now: the planned artifacts, logs and registers, and then you have a strategy artifacts as well, which is basically the business cases, project briefs. I think one of you asked me earlier that where we have those the project brief discussion. That's also one of the artifacts that you have. You have overall roadmap that you have defined, and then you have logs, different type of logs that you have. That could be lesson learned, risks and issues, assumption log, backlog of the product. Then you have all the different type of plan artifacts that you need. Okay, any question? So, okay. This basically completes and concludes your overall coursework that we had for this training. And we're gonna go into the questions that you have attempted so far, and then the tests that you have done in our second half. But just wanted to give you an idea that what overall we have covered here, 3 books in general. We did not go through each and every single one of those chapters. Mostly I went through the important chapters on this one, but you just need to focus on just reading them through again, going through the slide deck, go through our videos, and then also start looking into the books as well. So that will be really helpful for you. We'll reconvene. What time is it right now? It's 3:59. So we will reconvene in about 20 minutes at 4:20. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Okay, then the second part of this our lecture today, since we have already covered the coursework of our project of our training, our focus is going to be between now and end of this lecture is to do a lot of practice. So every time, every class, I would need and I would expect all of you to just go over and do some practice test. And for those practice tests, you just need to make sure that you have completed those practice tests and come back, and then we can share what we have. Today, I'm gonna spend just 15-20 minutes today to go over some of the questions that we have. For those are the mock tests that we have, and then I would expect I'll give you we will have an early dismissal today so that you can go back and not to take off, but take that time at your home and then do the practice of those mock tests. And then at the end of the day today, maybe you can send me the result of that, whatever you have got so far. And then we will discuss those tomorrow as well. Second thing I wanted to also share with you is that tomorrow is a Super Bowl. So I know a lot of people have plans as well. And that was my target, to complete our coursework today so that tomorrow we can actually focus on our tests, and then also then take some time off tomorrow, and then we will catch up on that one next week. That's a plan. Next week is gonna be our last weekend for the two classes that we have. We will discuss on one day. I'm planning to actually bring in some of the experts in the class who can just join us if they can. I'm not sure if they who is that gonna be. I have a few people, but depending upon their availability, we'll decide if they can just come in and give you some idea how the overall exam works, and they share their experiences, what they have done in those exams, and how they prepared for the test as well. I gave you throughout these lectures, I gave you some of pointers that how I prepared for my exam. Also gave you some of the cheat sheets as well, that what are the different types of things that you can use to actually prepare that. But then I also want other people as well to share their experience so that you have some more knowledge about it, about the test, when you should be scheduling it, and what are the things that you need to be looking into it. Okay, with that, I am gonna go ahead and share my screen, and I just opened. I want to know, first of all, how many of you actually tried and those attempted those questions, the 100 questions I shared, the website I shared with you with the 100 questions. How many of you actually shared it, looked at it, and attempted all 100 or even part of it?
I tried to do it. After 5 questions, I gave up.
After 5 questions, you gave up?
Yeah.
Yeah, so sister, you need to do all 100 of them, because we will have about 180 questions total. So part of your training is to build up that stamina to sit for 4 hours or 230 minutes, and then go over all these questions as well, and then do it. That is also because it's very easy, even sometime you know the answers, but people don't have a stamina to actually sit through the whole exam and go through that one. That's why even during the exam as well, you don't necessarily have to be like sitting all the time over there. We people actually do take breaks. They can take those bio breaks. They can just take a break just to eat something, drink some water, and then come back, and then even walk for a couple of minutes, and then come back as well. So that helps in circulating your blood, and you can just come back and then start working as well. But you should actually do that. And then I encourage you today, I'm gonna give you 1 hour. So just you assume that you are still in the class, just like sitting in right now and then attending the class. You spend that 1 hour and actually do all those 100 questions today. And let's see how far you go. I just want to go. This is the site I actually shared with you, Oliver Lehman, Project Business Training, and he has his own trainings and all that as well. But I found it very good examples of free 100 PMP practice questions. These are the good questions as well. So you can. This is not necessarily exactly the same questions, because this is all PMP exam is all adaptive. But these are the questions that gonna help you understanding whether it's what kind of questions you're gonna come in. Okay, let's go through some of those questions together, and then I will let you go after that one as well. So anybody has any answer to this? Don't go with this
Are
selection.
you sharing your screen?
Say that again.
Are you sharing your screen?
Oh, I'm sorry if I'm not sharing my screen. I'll go ahead and share my screen. I thought I was. There you go. Okay, I'll go back again. This is the website I share with you, that it has a free 100 PMP questions. Now look at let's go to the first question we have. A project manager is preparing two documents for risk management. One contains the sources of overall project risk and the also summary information on individual risks. The second describes individual risk identified, what name should the project manager give to the first document. So remember, it's a first document. It contains the sources of overall project risks and also the summary information on individual risks.
I think it's the register.
Register, yeah, it's going to be register. It's not a plan yet how to manage it.
Yeah.
The second describes the individual risks identified. So second document is what do we call then the second document?
It's identifies risk. Still not a plan. It's probably a report.
So remember the rule of thumb, what I told you, looking at it, you will immediately find out which two are not correct. So here,
The
which
last
two
two
are
are
not
not
correct?
correct. The last two are not correct.
I would say last two.
We all are in agreement. Now we are stuck between the first two. Which one is the first document? That's the answer we need.
One context.
Information on individual risk. Okay, the first one probably is risk report because it has the information, summary information.
So the key over here is that the second document. The second document describes individual risk identified, and then which document has the individual risk identified, where we have the individual risk identified, and then the details about this one.
That's the register. The second.
That's the register. So
The second
which
one
one is the first one then? Risk report.
Risk report, yeah.
So that's the answer. That's called selection by elimination. So we eliminated the first two immediately. Then we had two options. We eliminated one of them by looking at the second the part of the question. So it means whatever is the left off, that's my answer. So the actual answer is risk report. That's my understanding. I don't know. We'll see. Now let's go to, we'll just go 4 or 5 of them because I don't want Sister Sarah to think that we are gonna go all of them together here. Sister, I'm expecting now. I need actually I'm gonna be watching your result. So I need it by the end of day today. I'm expecting you should have all 100 of them. Okay. All right. Company has to make choice between the two projects. Okay. Somebody has a question? All right. The company has to make choice between the two projects because the available resources and the money kind of are not sufficient to run both both projects at the same time. Each would $250,000 in cost and 12 months to complete. So 3-year prediction after final delivery. Which project is the one that which one is the most appropriate answer? So we have the first project details. We have the second project details as well. What do you think is the best attractive one that you have?
If you can just scroll to the first detail and second detail, thank you.
Okay, the first one is basically is a process optimization, which would result in a cost reduction of $300,000 per year. This benefits would be achieved in the first year after the end of the project, and then again in each following year. So $300,000 in the first year and the second year, and then second and third year. Second project would be the development of a new product that would produce incremental income already during the project. So first 6 months, $15,000, second 6 months, $55,000. First year after the project finish, $230,000. Second year is $300,000. Fourth and then third year as well is a $300,000.
I think the first one is saying that it's at the end of each year, it's going to reduce by 300,000. So it's $900,000 total in 3 years, and the second one has 55, 15. You add up all of those. Need to check how that is.
My answer, Brother Gold, that one cannot
Service
say
at-
based on the numbers, because the question is about 12 months and cost 250,000. However, the two examples are talking about reduction of income. That's not. I think I'm missing some information to know if I have that cost money.
So assuming that we have $250,000 only, the
Right.
both projects need $500, $500,000. So since we have only $250,000, we cannot run both of them together.
Mm.
And we have the source of the income of budget allocated already, $250,000. Now, which one should we go with? The first one or the second one?
Second one.
Second one is what I'm thinking.
Second one.
Why second one? I think it is first one, right? Because you're gonna get 300,000 every year after finishing.
Okay. What else? Who else? Anybody else has any answer? Brother Numan, you have any answer on this one?
Yeah, I would say number two, because you start seeing the cost reduction after 6 months, and that kind of gives you an opportunity to fine tune if needed. Whereas the number one, you have to wait for 1 year to really see the cost reduction.
Okay, that makes sense. So first year you do spend 200, basically $250,000, but you at the same time, by the end of the first year, you earn, how much is that? $70,000 you earn.
70.
Okay, so your cost has gone down from 250 to 180 by the end of first year. And then after that, while you are working on the second year, this is gonna be second year is gonna produce another $230. And your the first project is also in progress after that. And then you're gonna save $300,000. So you basically earn 230 and save 300,000.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So
it's a second project then,
so
right?
which two answers are right away wrong? Or should not be there?
First two.
The first two cannot. Yeah, I don't think applicable.
Okay. So based on numbers, we can say there are the first two questions. Yeah, both projects are equally attractive. Yes, they are. But again, at the same time, we have to do some numbers. We have to make a decision. So in that case, in my opinion as well, it's gonna be the second project that is more attractive that we need to do for this one. This is an Elon Musk problem. If you remember that, I forgot the year, which year it was, when Elon Musk has to decide between Tesla and SpaceX, that whether he should go, he had to actually close one of those companies in order to continue, because he was saying that we have only money for one company, not for two. He did not close either one of them, but that was the thing that he had to make a choice right there at that time. So he came up with some compromises in between. All right, third question. A product manager is an agile software development project which finds it's hard to leave the decision process to the team. As the project is under time and pressure, the person makes decision for and then tries to sell them to the team. While this approach indeed accelerates the project, there is growing dissatisfaction among the team members. Which behavior by the project manager would have been more appropriate? First, select which two are not appropriate at all.
It's not a top down is not appropriate because that's what he's doing. Team members are not happy with that.
So top down is not appropriate.
Command and control.
Say that again.
Command and control is also not appropriate.
Command and control is also not appropriate. Okay. Now that leaves us servant leadership, use of control counts. So understand what is the use of control accounts.
Use of control accounts.
Okay, the use of control accounts is pretty much that we are looking at the numbers, we are doing some math, and then we're seeing that it's not working out for us. That's use of control accounts. And then the servant leadership. What's the servant leadership?
Basically, you take feedback from the team.
No, this is not just a team feedback from the team. This is a servant leadership means that. So, what's the difference between the top-down leadership and the servant leadership?
So basically, the decisions are made together in the servant leadership, right?
Correct. So that's the key here. So we need to actually, in my opinion, the servant leadership is the right answer because you do need a feedback from the team, and you need to take the team with you rather than just going in and asserting your authority over them. All right. Moving on to the next one. Project management team includes 2 external consultants, each from a different company. You found that repeated conflict between the 2 consultants already slow down project progress and jeopardize achievement of objectives. Which stage of team development can be difficult to overcome in each situation? Okay, so that's pretty much the storming from forming, storming, norming, and performing.
I think it's the last one. Frustration from the direction, frustration, cooperation, collaboration. Kick off from assignment is probably not, because you already kicked off. You're not, I don't know.
Yeah.
Panic.
So as again, using that rule of thumb, that just let's first of all negate the 2 that are obviously wrong. Which 2 are wrong?
Panic from enthusiasm is probably not right. They're not showing enthusiasm here.
Okay.
Storming from forming. I don't know what that means.
So forming, it's always a forming, storming, norming, and performing, right? You form the team, you storm it, and then you norm it. You norm it, you storm it, and then you perform.
I think it's not that also, because this is external consultants. These are stakeholders, and
No,
so it doesn't matter whether they are consultants or not, but they are part of the team.
I think it's a storm, and I like.
Correct.
Yeah, like the struggles or the conflicts between the team members happen in this stage. If that's what the question is looking for.
So frustration from the direction, frustration, cooperation, collaboration. That is one possible answer. Storming from forming, storming, norming, performing. That's another possible answer.
I feel that it's the last one, because that's what it results into: cooperation and frustrations from the direction, frustration and cooperation. It's going to lead problems during the cooperation and collaboration too.
Okay.
But it's not a conflict. I mean, frustration is like here, I think it's concentrated on like conflicts between 2 consultants. So frustration can happen within the team, not necessarily like there is a conflict.
So which answer, brother, you are expecting?
I'm voting.
I go with fourth one. I'll go with fourth one.
Okay.
I'll go with number 1. Storming from forming, then storming, norming, and performing.
Okay. I would say the same. Okay. Anybody else?
I'll go with 4 too. Yeah.
Okay.
Frustration.
My bet is on this one, number 1. It's because we have formed the team, and now we are having a difficulty from forming to storming. We have already formed the team. These 2 consultants are part of the team, but they are having conflict. Because of that one, we are not able to accelerate. And that's why it is, the key over here is this one: slow down the project progress. It is basically not us letting us storm right there.
it will not let us to go from like a norming to performing to. So it's, I think first is like more seems to be kind of like a
Right.
answer.
That's what I'm again. We probably will have to do all of them before we can get the answer. During a project, earned value analysis is performed, resulting the value the following numbers: EV $523,000, PV is 623,000, AC is this one. Do you know even what is AC is?
Actual cost.
Actual cost. What is
cost.
the
Yeah.
PV?
Project value.
Estimated cost.
Planned
PV
cost.
earned value.
Oh, PV is like planned. Yeah, E is like estimated
value,
PV
right?
is earned value. So now which one is correct? Which two are totally incorrect? Project is ahead of baseline schedule and under budget. Is this right or wrong?
The actual cost is higher than the earned value, so the project is behind.
Yeah.
So the first one, is that correct?
No, the first two will not be correct then.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the answer. So first two, you will just reject them right away. You focus on the remaining two. The first one is ahead of baseline schedule. So both of them, first two are ahead of baseline schedule. Your baseline schedule is
it's not under budget, it's over budget.
It's over budget, yeah.
It's an over budget. So now that since actual value is already 643 and your planned value was 623, you are already $20,000 above the budget. So and you are behind the schedule because your EV is behind PV.
Yeah.
Okay. So your AC is more than PV, which tells you it's an over budget. Your EV is behind PV, which tells you it's behind schedule.
But what was PV again, brother? Go.
Say that again.
PV.
Yeah.
What was it?
Planned value. Okay. So you did that.
I agree then. Yeah.
Okay. It's a behind the schedule and over budget, which is most of the projects are these days. All right. I'm gonna stop right here at fifth question. I will expect each one of you to go to this website. I'm gonna share the link here in our text as well, and I will expect each one of you to go to the website and make sure that you take this time. It's 4:45 right now. We have about 1 hour 15 minutes, and even if you take 15 minutes break, you have about 1 hour. So I am expecting you all of you to go over use this 1 hour, complete these 100 questions, and then share your results with me, and then also share your results tomorrow as well with the class. By the way, tomorrow we're gonna just go over these question answers for the first 1 hour from 2 to 3, and then at 3 o'clock we can just take a break from there, so that you will have some homework to be done, but then we'll continue the next week, which is going to be our last week for that one. Any questions before we leave?
I might have to skip tomorrow, brother.
Gul, if you can stop recording, I want to add something.
Sure.